Hi everyone and welcome back to another video with me, Shruti Vashist. You're watching Ascension 1111. In this video today, I want to continue to speak about the empowered feminine, the goddess when it flows through us, and just, the fierce feminine aspect. And not only the fierce feminine aspect, but really the empowered feminine that embodies all of the different aspects of the feminine, and how it's difficult for the world to sort of accept her as she is. And I'm going to use the term her, but the feminine really can be any gender, but that identifies itself as more of a feminine being. So even if you hear me say her, essentially that's what I'm speaking about, a feminine being. Now, most of these are females, but not all of them. So what's really happening on the planet, as you all know, I'm not going to repeat everything, but the divine feminine is becoming empowered first, because that's the first portal. So those of us that hold more of the divine feminine aspect in us, we are becoming empowered first in a general sense, generally speaking. And the world can't take all of you in, because there's different aspects of you, and this is going to apply to dating especially, but in general as well. And I'm going to speak to you in this video about the labels that get thrown around on the feminine, bringing her down. And the reason is not to vent, but it's to make you aware, because sometimes when we hear this feedback, we're used to what society has to say and the sort of logics that play out at the socioeconomic level, and they don't necessarily reflect the goddess embodied feminine, because she makes her own rules and she flows by the rules of God and goddess moving through her and expressing and creating through her, essentially. So what are those labels? I'm gonna talk to you about them, and hopefully this will be an empowering video where you really come into the embodiment of your divine feminine and embrace all of you, because the first step is for you to embrace all of that and to just see the distortions, to be able to identify that you are giving me this feedback, but this is a distortion, or this is not my truth, right? So whether you apply this in your dating life, or you apply this in your sharing, for example, you're sharing online like me, or at your workplace, whatever, and people project certain things on you, it'll help you with all of that as well. So I have a few different labels that get thrown around, and I want to explain what they really mean in truth and how society distorts them, etc. So if you would like to hear more about that, then keep watching this video. Subscribe if you are new here. Give this video a thumbs up. That's how I know what kind of videos you'd like to watch from me. Leave your comments and tell me what kind of videos you'd like to watch from me as well. And please know I have all kinds of personal services and courses, self-study online courses that you can take with me. The links for all of that will be below this video. And most recently, I have started this subscription service where it's for a nominal price, and I take you deeper than I can in these YouTube videos. And it really helps you with your own empowerment as well. Okay guys, so I'm going to be referring to some notes here because I have a lot, so just don't mind that. So essentially what I want to say to you, if you're a feminine being, or even if you are just interested in knowing about this, what happens is that you trigger everyone. As the empowered feminine, we trigger everybody. And when I say empowered feminine, again, I'm talking because my channel is about ascension, and it's about enlightenment and embodying your ascension. So it's not just empowered feminine, like we use in the masses, and women, which is also beautiful, women who are empowering themselves or who are more empowered than others. But I'm talking very specifically about ascension and being the Christ embodied feminine, being the one through whom the goddess flows. This is the highest level of power that anyone can hold in body. So when you are empowered like that, or you are on the path of that, and you're integrating all of these aspects of you, you are going to trigger just everybody, including yourself, and even people who are conscious. Because until they haven't come into their own empowerment at that level, so they might be at a certain level, they're, fifth dimension level, whatever. But above that, because like I said, the feminine people are the ones that are embodying it first, for the most part. So you are going to trigger them until they embrace it fully within themselves, where it's not just something that they know as a concept, but they have chosen it. It's a vibration, living vibration in them. Until then, they're going to project all kinds of things on you. And so that's what this video is about, so that at least you can know what's happening. So you trigger everyone because you embody your totality. And they can't take in all of you at once because it hurts like the sun hurts, you know, like the sun just shines and beams and it doesn't care who is in front of it, if it gets burnt, etc. It has to show up in its full power. So it hurts like that to some people. Only the parts that they know in themselves is what they can see you as. So, you know, sometimes people meet me in the dating scenario and they're like, oh, you're so feminine, you know, you have this nurturing side, which I do. And they're like, I love that about you. But then they can't handle the more fierce aspect, you know, where I have these strong boundaries and etc. I won't go into details, but so, and then there's others who like that side. That's more uncommon, you can say. And they like the more masculine side of me, and they judge the more feminine side, which is more receptive, which is more vulnerable. So it's only the parts of you that you have met and embodied yourself that will not trigger you when you meet another person who embodies that, you see. Okay, so they have to, so because you bring out and trigger these different areas in people, so they have to label you in one way or another, and that's the origin of these labels and how they come about, right? So I'm going to discuss the labels next, but this is the work of the darkness to keep us all small, to put labels. This is what the mind does, what the darkness does, what the lower levels do, that they contain, like they put you in a box and it's like you can't get out of it, right? So it's this control thing. So this is the work of the darkness to keep us all small. However, we have to, that's why this video is important, because we have to remind ourselves and others to not suppress the feminine in us. So stick around for the last label, the last point that I have, because it's perhaps the most important. Okay, so the first label is chastity. So people might say the first essence is chastity, and the first label that is associated with it, the distortion of it, is that you're slutty or you're not chaste. So people use the word chastity, whether they're using the word or not, but you know, this vibration of being chaste, this idea of being chaste, this concept, they're using it wrong, and I'm going to explain what chastity really is. So chastity is your first feeling, and chastity means that this is the feminine who has the quality to know what feeling is happening in her body, like what is her value really, what is the value that she holds, what is her emotional need. And when these are not met, she has the potential to say it, to express it in a soft way, in any way, in a balanced way basically. But she can express it rather than suppress it and then get what's the word, passive aggressive later on. So because when you do this, even when you do this in a way that is balanced, sometimes some people who haven't embraced, who are still judging the feminine within them, they will see it as being too vulnerable, being too needy, all of those labels that are, you know, put on the feminine. So don't expect men to dictate what your values are and how you are feeling. You have to know it yourself. And you are the inner leader. So the feminine is the inner leader, the masculine is the outer leader. So in order to be the inner leader, you have to be in touch with your own feelings yourself. You have to know what's happening in my body, what are my values, what is my emotional need. Yeah. So don't wait on men to tell you that, what it is that your standard is in relationships, what it is that you, and when I say men, again, I mean the masculine people. I guess I'm just thinking about myself because, you know, I'm a woman who dates men, but you get the picture. So, so it's not the masculine that knows, that has a better idea than you. Usually the feminine is the inner leader and has a better sense of, and anyways, even if it doesn't have a better sense, like the dynamic that plays out between a masculine and feminine person, the feminine has to do the work of being the inner leader and knowing what its values are and its emotional needs are, and to lead with that, to be able to express it and not to be fully empowered in that and not shy away when somebody throws a label or, you know, tries to tell her that she's wrong or she's being too needy, etc. Do it in a balanced way, and that is what being chaste is, knowing your first feeling. So having sex with many people or you know, whatever being slutty is associated with, that is not anything, because what flows from an authentic feeling within you, an authentic sense within you, is always right. That can look widely different. That can look like somebody who, you know, sticks to one person. That can look like somebody who wants the experience of many. It's about source moving through you and what it wants to create. Like, you know, in this day and age, we're also meeting lots and lots of people because there's sudden and small contracts. So it's like, you know, in the past decades and hundreds of years ago, when the vibration of the earth was slower, we would come one lifetime and we're spending one whole lifetime with one partner, then another one, and then working out our karma gradually. But now there's this speeding up, right? So we were supposed to meet many people, and many of these are romantic partners as well. But anyway, the point is that whatever it is that you're doing, the rules are widely different, and I made another video about this. Check it out over here, that the rules are widely different for the one who embodies the goddess. They don't have to match what is traditionally known as good or bad or right or wrong or wise as well. Sometimes what is traditionally wise, although that is good wisdom, it's not right for you for now, because source moving through you is dictating something else. The main mission that you have is service on the planet, to change vibration. So it can look, your actions can look widely different. Okay, so then the second label is wild, that you're too wild, or you're or the opposite, you're the Virgin Mary, you know, like, you know what I'm talking about. So, so again, this is exactly what I was saying, which is that you have surrendered when you have embodied your ascension, when you are an embodied feminine, you have surrendered to the will of God. And sometimes it's unusual in that it is diverse, it is sexual. Sometimes it is unusual that it is consecrated, which is what I was saying exactly just now, you know, where the focus is on a particular thing and you want to stick to that and you're not looking for diversity. But the goddess is meant to feel fully and receive. She feels, she receives, and she magnetizes her passion. So when there's a strong passion flowing within you, this is passion, you know, like you've heard Passion of the Christ. This is a state of enlightenment. That's where passion really comes from. So when you feel passion, sometimes men around you, or the masculine around you, is not as empowered. They won't meet all parts of you, which is something that you deserve. So sometimes we'll be drawn to multiple partners, or, you know, even if we are dating one person at a time, we'll meet many, whatever it is. It's not about how it looks externally. It's about what is authentic here, and you deserve for that full passion to be met, for all parts of you to be met. And you're not too wild in doing that. You know, you are wild because the goddess is wild and it's flowing through you, but it's authentic and it's right, and it's for service. So you have to do away with all of these labels and, you know, the insecurity that comes, that will I be safe? Will people accept me? All of that is not your path, especially if you embody the goddess or you're on the path of embodying the goddess. Okay, so goddess is meant to feel fully and receive and magnetize her passions. She should not be scared of being magnetic, you know, being seductive, whether that is sexually or with things, whatever, it doesn't matter. But her main essence is to be able to magnetize, and only that which is truth may enter. So if one person does not embody fully, like I was saying, all of that truth that you stand for, the different aspects of you, then sometimes you have to meet many people, and it's not always in dating, sometimes it's through friendships, this and that. But it is, you are all about truth and authenticity and the wild goddess moving through you, and whatever that dictates is what you allow in. Then the third label is alignment. Sometimes people will say things like you're acting from your shadow. And this comes from that, you know, there is this, okay, I'll just read out my note first. So discernment of where your energy is needed now and what is worthy of it, and what is feedback from truth, what is not, saying no. Sometimes when you say no to people, you know, they will take it personally, and then they'll just project that, you know, you have airs about yourself, or you're not in alignment, like you're a narcissist or something. But part of being fully embodied, you can be expressive. So it's not like, sometimes what's also associated with this, which is the next point as well, is humility. People have told me, for example, you're not humble, but And they say it for things like where I'm saying that, I do this and I embody this. So just saying something that you know within, that is your deep truth, it's not lack of humility. It's actually very much needed on the planet right now, where we speak about that, I have this, I'm empowered in this. This is very much needed because we have been suppressed. The feminine has been suppressed for so long. So humility is very different. The real meaning of humility is that you hold a certain level of power, but you are there in service. You see, that is being humble, that I hold this level of power. I don't need to be here on this planet, or I don't need to be here in this situation, which is not up to par for me, for what I have created inside myself, yet I am here in service. You see, that is the meaning of humility. Just like the meaning of chastity is very different from somebody who doesn't sleep around. You see, just like the meaning of wild and like how judging wild and it's like nothing to be judged for. The wild aspect is the goddess. So alignment means that you are very discerning and you know where to put your energy, where not to. You are able to say no. You have very firm boundaries. This again, the first step of this is knowing what your values are and what it is that you need. And not being afraid of saying no to those people and situations where you're not getting enough, because it's not all about just giving and depleting yourself. There needs to be an equal flow. Of course, it'll come in different forms. If you hold more of the light, sometimes people give you physical things, because that is what their main focus is, and that's what they can give. But it's about an equal and opposite exchange. And so let me see, what else have I written? Yeah, so sometimes the world needs to hear a no, and they're not used to hearing a no in certain situations. Like, when I'm at the workplace, for example, I very, not bluntly, but like in a very matter-of-fact way, will say what it is. Like what is possible, what is not possible. And people will often take it as me being rude or being just saying no, whereas I'm just laying out the facts. You see, people are not used to hearing no because people just comply to whatever, whether it's fair or not. So you have to hold that space because it's happening through you. You see, you are holding this space of the higher masculine as well as the feminine person, because you are empowered first. So the masculine aspect of the feminine, part of that is about discernment and being able to say no. And you can say it in a soft way, but inside of you need to be firm. Okay, then sometimes people also in the dating scenario say, especially in India, that I just want somebody simple, like women who are empowered, who are embodying their Christ, who are on the path. Sometimes even conscious men will not choose them. And again, this is, feminine, masculine, not just men, women. But it's again because they haven't fully come into their own divine masculine, which is about discernment, which is about choosing truth, which is about independence. There's too many factors that they have, like men have this lots of pressure on them to be providers, etc. So they don't want to let go of those structures and those securities that they have built. And sometimes accepting a woman or the feminine who is very empowered and is able to say no, or has holds a lot of the masculine in her as well, this really good balance, can sort of disrupt that, because part of what the man might be living is still not fully within truth yet. You see, the truth relates to the higher masculine, and so being around her, he needs to then, that comes up in his face and it affects his life and the people around him. So sometimes men say, I just want a simple woman. And what is simplicity? Again, don't use these labels, guys. When I say guys, I don't just mean men, I mean men, women, everybody, all of us. So simplicity means what? We just throw around words like they mean nothing, But again, feel into each term. What does it really mean? So simplicity is about being, receiving directly from spirit. Something that is full of light, that is compact, that is very simple. It's like the one seed of life which contains the entire blueprint through which the whole tree will grow. So it's simple in that it's one simple thing, but it contains that diversity inside of it. That's what simple means. So of course, a woman who is holding, or the feminine that's holding power and is so clear that she knows when to say no and yes, she's the one that is simple, you see. Not somebody, because often people say simple, I want a simple woman, but what they really mean is that I just want somebody who will just do whatever I say for the most part, you know, not like all of it, but for the most part, that's what they're saying, that they will just go along with what I'm saying. And I don't really want to embody my full truth yet and to change things in my life fully. I don't want to fully penetrate, fully go into the change and into the discomfort. And I just want somebody simple, because I've heard this used so many times. So be careful of this. When you hear it from people, if you're the feminine, then just, you know, you have to come back and know who you are, and not just believe what they are saying. Okay, then perfection. So this is probably the one of the last points, I think. So perfection, people often expect perfection from you. So for example, for me, I speak in these videos and, you know, I'm very assertive and I'm very clear most of the time. So my energy, it comes out like that to people. And then when they see me in real life, where I'm a human and I make some mistakes, or, you know, it takes me a while to center, or I have one meltdown or whatever it is, and then they're like, oh, you're a hypocrite. But see, those are again ideas of enlightenment and not the physical embodiment. You see, nobody is perfect. Nobody's meant to be perfect. We all have an aspect of us that is the inner child, that is the human, that is exploring, that is becoming more and more each time, becoming wider, like bigger and bigger, coming more and more into themselves. That beautiful ebb and flow that we feel, and sensuality as humans. And there is the higher self aspect of us that always is stable, always knows. So the I am, or the higher self aspect of us, is always within that silence, is always contained. So we always have both, the empowered and the one that is the inner child that has its needs and wants to just experience life and will always grow. So you have to, you know, people who actually embody their ascension allow for both of these sides of themselves to play out, and that is the only way you can attain ascension anyway in human form. Okay, so let me just see. So don't accept judgments from those that don't yet fully meet themselves. Please, you don't have to judge them, you know, see them because they're speaking from the level that they are, from what they know, but you don't have to accept that judgment and internalize it, especially. And then that makes us not want to be here on this planet. We feel alone. So yeah, so don't internalize that, and see your higher potential, but also allow the inner child to express itself. You are allowed to act out, you are allowed to be vulnerable and human with others. This is the inner child acknowledging its needs and receiving love. But you always, after this experience of being vulnerable and the inner child and having needs, you apply the wisdom that you have learned and you change your life around. So that's the mark of a master, that you're not always, you know, thrown around by emotions, but you allow emotions when they come, but at the same time they're not disrupting your life. Your main vibration is still grace, you see. So it's about the main vibration, not like every action you do has to be perfect. It's about that is perfection, you see. So within grace, this up and down happens. Like grace is that stability, and it's so long as the main vibration is grace. So yeah, I think those are the main things that I want to say, because you're always in touch with truth. You're more in touch with truth than others, and sometimes people will accuse you of being critical as well, just because you know what you want, or you're able to, you know, you can't put up with BS basically when people are saying something, and you can be compassionate. It's not that you always have to speak out and show that you know something. That's not how a goddess embodied becomes embodied in the first place. You know, it happens through unconditional love for others too. But there are situations when that will come out, when that's needed, you know, and you have to be comfortable with that I trigger people, and I am the presence through which integration happens. Integration happens around me, the death process happens, and people come into light like that, something that they don't do themselves necessarily. they haven't pushed themselves enough to do it, but when I'm around, that happens. So you have to become comfortable with that and see it as sacred, see it as divine, instead of something like I am imperfect or I will never fit in and this and that. And especially in the dating scenario. Okay, and don't reward people's behavior when they give you these, you can have compassion for them, you can feel love for them, but don't reward that behavior when they're just judging you or they're putting all these labels. It's okay to have compassion and understand that they don't yet get it, but you also have to you hold space for their inner child like that by not judging and allowing that, but at the same time, you be the higher self. You allow their higher self to come through and their empowerment to come through by not rewarding them, and creating that space, even if it's a little bit uncomfortable, where they can stand up, see the truth, take responsibility as well. So it's a beautiful balance of that. Okay, so if you are on the path of ascension, get used to triggering people. You will be the only one giving yourself validation. This is very important. Life will reflect this by blessing you as well, because you won't feel alone, because you'll feel deep freedom, ecstasy, and connection within, and you'll be able to create it outside as well. And the more that you really accept yourself as you are, this vibration of the goddess will flow through you, and it'll just bring blessings, and it's this feeling of being fulfilled and being filled in rather than being empty or alone. So you are deeply, deeply needed. Please know that. And all of my courses, of course, take you through your ascension process, bring you into your empowerment, especially my course called Embody the Fifth Dimensional Vibration. Check it out below. I have all kinds of personal services as well. Check them out too. Give this video a thumbs up. That's how this video goes out to other people. And I'll see you in the next one. Thank you so much for watching.